Welcome to Consumer Behavior. This session, we are going to talk about Chapter 4, Learning, Remembering, and Knowing Why People Do What They Do, hence the Mountain Dew. Theories of learning, we have behavioral, which is stimulus response connections, classical and instrumental, and cognitive, which is internal mental processes that acquire and construct knowledge from observing what others say and do. Consumers are problem solvers who learn by observing relationships. These are two of the most common theories of learning. Behavioral learning theories, you have a classical conditioning. A stimulus that elicits a response is paired with another stimulus that initially does not elicit a response on its own. You get the classical bell, which the dog is conditioned to know that when he hears the bell, that there's food coming, so he'll start to drool. Then you have the operant, which actually the dog on his own, individuals learn to perform behaviors that produce positive outcomes and to avoid those that yield negative outcomes. Well, that dog is conditioned to know when he rings that bell, there's some food coming, or he goes to go outside. Hence, it's operant. And there's definitely a way to influence consumer behavior. How classical conditioning works. Before conditioning, unconditioning stimulus, hear the music, unconditioned response. Neutral stimulus, no response. During conditioning, repeated exposures, unconditioned response. After conditioning, conditioned stimulus, conditioned response. It is really a cause and effect type of a program with the classical. Classical conditioning, positive brand energy, high level of positive perception and value associated with brands' products. Benefits include customer loyalty, premium prices, and an overall competitive advantage. Just as a note, brand equity can also be negative. Unlike the financial market, when it comes to marketing, brand equity can go down. But with classical conditioning, it will generate a high level when you get your rewards for actions. Definitely, it's going to be a benefit. Loyalty, premium prices, and overall competitive advantage. Jingles, McDonald's, I'm loving it, and well-known songs to create lasting impressions in consumer minds. That is classical conditioning. I know we all have good examples. We all have bad examples. We've got that we've heard. The Applebee's, the baby back, or was it Applebee's that had that? I love my baby back ribs. I forget. It's again, it's forget one, but this is classical conditioning. Repetition increases learning. More exposures equals increased brand awareness. That seems logical, but at some point, you get diminishing returns. So even though you're going to get more brand awareness, it's going to come lesser and lesser, levels. And here, as you can see, percent memory retention, number of weeks, first repetition, the people, well, take the blue line, the people that saw that didn't see a commercial or an advertisement. By the fourth week, the brand doesn't mean anything to them. First repetition is good for a week, and then it starts to decline. By the end of the second week, it's down, and by the fourth week, it's almost gone. So yeah, it does seem logical that more exposures equals increased awareness, but it does come at diminishing returns. And the magic is knowing at what point Is it time to change a campaign or change the message or just quit spending, take a break, and come back at a certain point and reintroduce the campaign? The halo effect, stimulus generalization. Stimuli identified as the same as a conditioned stimulus will evoke similar responses. Again, it might sound logical, but there's a lot of science and understanding behind it. You have your product families that are all playing off the same logo, same color scheme, Frito-Lay chips, Frito-Lay salsa, line extensions, Coca-Cola, Diet Coke, Cherry Coke, Vanilla Coke, um, all playing off the strong brand equity of that original Coca-Cola. Licensing, franchises, and movie swag. Um, Franchises are a good one, as you get a successful franchise going. It's got the halo effect, and it will allow you to make a lot of money. Look-alike packaging, products at different price points. That's kind of a touchy one, and that a good example of that is what's called private label. You look at Lay's potato chips, you look at some of these other ones, and then you go down the aisle and see Meyer brand chips, and which actually I would say Meyer brand is a pretty distinctive package, but there are some knockoffs that are pretty darn close, look-alike packaging. But that's the reason why people want to assimilate some successful packaging. Here in this ad, you have Burt's Bees with their whole line of was that lip gloss or um, the flavors of lip balm, and that all expanded from the original Burt's Bees. The big advantage of something like this is shelf space, and at retail, if your item is up there, someone else is coming down. And that's a big reason why a lot of companies come out and with line extensions. It's a market share strategy. Your share of shelf space, someone else is coming down. But if you got a successful brand, retailers will take a chance. Instrumental operant conditioning, positive reinforcement. For example, positive reinforcement occurs after consumers try a new product and like it. This can also be negative reinforcement, and that's in the form of punishment. But this is the operant conditioning where you actually physically have to try something and like it, and then you go back for more. Instrumental operating conditioning, desired behavior is rewarded during every transaction. Some examples of this conditioning, and this again influences consumer behavior: airline frequent flyer miles, cashback reward programs from banks and credit cards. Very influential on consumer behavior. Types of reinforcement. Well, you have positive, add something positive to increase behavior, remove something negative to increase behavior. Right now, a lot of products are taking sugar out or coming out with line extensions with sugar free. I suppose that's going to increase. You also have the reinforcement of punishment. Add something negative to decrease behavior, remove something positive to decrease behavior. I don't, right off the top of my head, have examples of those, but certainly could happen. Cognitive learning theory. It's an internal mental processes, observational learning, modeling, and social default modeling. Steps in the processes. Consumers' attention must be directed to the appropriate model. Consumers must remember what the model says or does. Consumers must convert this information into actions, and consumers must be motivated to perform these actions. When we engage in cognitive learning, learning becomes an ongoing and engaging lifelong pursuit rather than a dull automatic reaction. Cognitive learning theory um, is really based on observing actions and things you see that say, okay, hey, I'd like to do that, and studying and identifying what it's going to take for you to get into that mode, or you to achieve what you're seeing and your desired actions. How our brains encode information. Very important when you're talking about consumer behavior. You have sensory memory, short-term memory, and long-term memory. Memory is a process of acquiring information and storing it over time so that it will be available when we need it. Memories are often stored in a narrative way, creating a story structure that connects pieces of the event together. That's why in a previous session, we talked about consumers buy into the brand's story, because the way the memory works is that many things that go into your memory are stored in a narrative. This is when it happened. This is what I was doing when this happened. This was the environment I was in when this memory was stored. And that is how the memory process entails the stage encoding, storage, retrieval. Cognitive learning, remembering. We learn about products by observing others' behaviors. Sensory memory, short-term memory, long-term memory. Of course, the sensory is a temporary storage information read from the senses. Capacity is low because we can only touch so many things at one time. That memory is sometimes less than 1 second, vision, or a few seconds for hearing. Short-term memory, brief storage of information currently being used, limited. Unlimited, the long-term memory. The way it works is the sensory memory will grab your attention. Information that passes through an attentional gate is transferred to short-term memory. Short-term memory lasts a little bit longer, 20 seconds or so. And once it has your attention, then you pay attention and begin to learn a little bit more, because now you're curious. What is this? Hey, something's happening here, or whatever, the stimuli. You recognize it, you're paying attention. That turns into the elaboration. Information subjected to elaborative rehearsal or deep processing. Its meaning is considered as transferred into long-term memory. If you, once a stimuli grabs your attention, it goes into short-term memory. You quickly decide, is this something I like or I don't like? Either way, it's going to stay in your long-term memory. But you make the decision, do I want to investigate further right now? Or is this something that will at some future point in my life be triggered and brought back up, and I'll remember this, have this memory. But that's how the memory works. Consumers' memories. Products help us retrieve memories from our past. Marketers resurrect popular characters from the past to evoke fond memories. Some call it nostalgia. Some call it retro. I believe last year was the 25th anniversary of The Matrix, and that came out, and there was big to-dos all over the world. It's a bit of a retro nostalgic thing. That was a lot of, it was a great movie. The characters and things like that. And that is the type of things that help us retrieve memories. Hey, what was I doing when that movie came out? Who was I hanging out? Where was I living? What have you? And all those things work together. How consumers organize what they know. Associative network, knowledge structures. Associative network, other products we associate with an individual product influence how we will remember it. And here's just an example. The electric cars, line down to Tesla, line down to Elon Musk, line over to entrepreneur, line over to Bill Gates. Electric cars, hybrids, Prius, Toro. These are all things that could be connected together and influence how we remember any one of these circles. And that's how the associative networks work. Knowledge structures would take, for example, desserts. Superordinate level, basic level. You have non-fattening desserts, you have fattening desserts. Ice cream, pie, cake. Subordinate level, fruit, yogurt, low-fat ice cream. This is very much a rational way of thinking things through versus the previous slide that showed somewhat of a random association, but associations nonetheless. And so this one, I think you dictate, do I want non-fattening? If I do, then this is my choice. If I want fattening, if I don't mind fattening desserts, here's my choices. So these are different ways of categorization. That's it for chapter 4. Again, this is week 2. The assignment, read chapter 3 and 4, quizzes in Canvas. Complete chapter 3 and 4 quizzes. The assignment, package design concept for a new premium chocolate. That is described, this assignment is described in much more detail on Canvas. Also, there is a link to an article about packaging for chocolate. It's not a very big article. It won't take you too long to read, but I think it'll give you a good reference and some good ideas on where to start for this project. So that is it. If you have any questions, contact me and I will talk to you soon.